Oh, shoot.
That's how we start.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It is good to see so many people in the chat already. It is just a wonderful time to be an atheist. Oh, Kitty, are you? Oh, Kitty's mic is muted. Kitty's talking. Okay.
You're still muted.
Yeah. I have a great panel with me today. We have a recreation of last week's panel plus the addition of J.R. Eldridge. And first, I'm going to say hello to everybody, and then I'll explain how this panel came to be. First of all, introducing for the first time on my show is J.R. Eldridge, author of the Misread Bible. J.R., can you say hello?
Nice to see you.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, the latest one, it's the Misread Bible Gospel, and I've combined the 4 Gospels into a single narrative, which was a complete pain in the arse because they contradict each other. And yeah, I've actually tried to give it a compelling storyline, unlike the original. So you've got Jesus. He's just this carpenter from up in Galilee. Goes down to see his cookie cousin who's living as a hermit by the river. And John the Baptist basically builds up a ministry where he's dunking people in water angrily and shouting obscenities at them. Yeah, I picture him as being one of these fire and brimstone types, and he just wants to be on his own, but people gather around him. And the part of the book which is more relevant today, obviously, you've got like the passion narrative. There may be zombies involved in my version. So.
Okay, very good. I'm going to let you plug the book again at the end, and I'm sure you're going to be reading some excerpts from your book during the show. Let's move on to Claire. Claire, tell us a bit about yourself. You've been on here before.
I have been on here. Thank you so much for having me back. Yeah, I have a small channel. I do a variety of content. You may see me over at Theoreticals doing panels there. I've been an atheist for 10 years now. And I'm enjoying this community, this little bunch that I have found. Mostly Godless Granny on Twitter and JR. I love your reads, by the way. And if you read any of those parts with the zombies, I'm just gonna lose it. I'm just gonna lose myself here. I know both Kitty and Beck, and I'm just happy to be here. So really,
and Kitty, it is great to have you as always.
Oh, can't hear you.
No, we can't hear Kitty.
Although it doesn't say
You're not
muted
on
now.
StreamYard,
Yeah,
so it must be somewhere else. There you go.
I'm having to deal with a bunch of issues because over the weekend my motherboard died. It completely, so had to replace it, and it's got everything jacked up in my computer because computers don't like it when you replace parts in them. Right. I mean, you can replace a hard drive. That's not an issue. But if it's the processor or the motherboard, it does not like it. So I was really stressed and not in a good mental headspace because of it. So I didn't really do much over the weekend other than just throw myself into Rune Factory 5, which my partner got for me. So I've been playing the crap out of that game. Just to get my mind off of the fact the computer's all jacked. But then today I was trying to fix it and I got overwhelmed, and it's as good as it's going to get right now. I'm trying to figure out my lighting situation. It's a little wonky too, so pardon that.
Skitscratcher says, Canadian, hide your hockey sticks.
Okay.
Watch out, Randolph will bury him in his backyard.
What an entrance. What an entrance.
Hockey sticks aren't good for that.
No, they aren't. Great home weapons. Yes, Granny.
We'll go with B and then Randolph. So B, say hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am B. No, I'm kidding.
That be you, B? Huh?
You can find me over on my channel at B No Just B. I do Mondays and Wednesdays, and as soon as this is done, I will be at the top of the hour. I'll be jumping over to my stream. You guys, when you're done, you're welcome to come over. It's going to be an open mic, and we're all just going to hang out and bullshit and stuff. So whoever wants to come over is welcome. Otherwise, you'll find me everywhere from Tang and Student Dr. Ben and Neil the 604 Atheist and the Shills. And those are my normals. So
okay, very good.
Yeah. And thanks for having me,
Randolph, good to have you here as well.
Yeah, I'm glad I could make it at the beginning of the hour this time. It's been a busy time with family and stuff. So I'm glad to be here. This is you always host such great shows. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. And now just a couple of words of how the show came to be. If anyone who was here last week, you will know that most of this panel is the same as it was last week. We didn't have Claire, and our subject was silly church stories. And the only reason that Claire wasn't here was because there was a storm and Claire lost power and Claire couldn't make it. And after the show, we got to talking. We all felt bad that Claire couldn't make it. And Claire finally got power back like 1 minute after we ended the show. So we all decided
it was terrible.
Yeah.
I was like, what timing is that? Like, you know,
what a kick in the teeth, right?
So we decided we would all come back again, and this time we would really have Claire on. And I was trying to think of a theme for this week's show, and being Holy Week, I said, tomorrow is Maundy Thursday, and we have a question from Maya as to what Maundy Thursday is, and I'll explain that in just a moment. And of course, the first thing I thought of was what's on the thumbnail for this show, which is the meme of Jesus saying, "Eat me." And then, so I thought, okay, if we're going to talk about Jesus saying, "Eat me," I think the theme should be misquoting Jesus. And as soon as I thought of misquoting Jesus, the first thing I thought of was the misread Bible. And I have read JR's book on the Christmas story. And JR, what was the second book that you wrote?
Well, the Christmas one was the second. The first was Genesis, and the third was Book of Moses.
Okay, so I have Genesis and I have the Christmas story. And I thought, if we're going to be misquoting the Bible, we have to have JR on, who is the master of misquoting the Bible.
That way we can do it right.
That's right.
Yeah, we do it the right way.
Or not at all.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you all for coming back. I mean, that was terrible. I felt terrible. I love being here with Granny, and to miss that, it was terrible. So thank you all for taking the time out to come back.
We got to do this again to make sure Claire's here.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Randolph. I've never streamed with you before, so I'm kind of flattered you today.
Oh, Randolph's a good guy.
I've tuned into a few of your live streams, and I think you present well. So yeah, it's great to be on stream with you. Yeah.
Randolph's brand of like quirkiness, like he's a little bit of an odd duck, but I absolutely adore that because normal people scare me. No, and I mean that sincerely because it's always he seems so normal, but he's got like 4 women chained in his basement for 20 years. It's like I like to know that you're a little bit of an oddball. All my friends are odd in their own way, and like I absolutely adore Randolph. Like he's invited to my cookout.
Thank you, Kitty.
And also, I have to say, for anybody, I'm sorry, Randolph, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done. Go ahead, Mr. B.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to run everybody. Just for anybody that doesn't know Randolph, he is our honorary. We can bring him anywhere cishet guy that will totally have our backs no matter what we're dealing with. He is always supportive. So I love him for that.
Was just on the Afro Humanist stream earlier today. We're talking about this topic a bit, and I was emphasizing how important it is for people to not have to ask permission if such and such is normal, attractions in different ways are normal, and that people, I encourage people to just explore who they are and get to know themselves the best possible way and enjoy their lives. without any external arbitrary pressures from people centuries or a millennia ago with bizarre ideas.
That's an excellent way to be. Like, down with judgment. That's what I say. Boo hoo. Down with judgment. Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, you can't, Skits Crusher. You can't add Claire and me together and get Mr. Bear.
No, you can't, because
Mr.
he's
Bear
bigger
is
than
his
us.
own deal.
He is his own deal, and he's awesome, and we need him, just to be him, and that would be very weird. That would be,
and she can't be Mrs. Bear, because Mrs. Bear would be pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
I think we could put together a show there with Claire and you, Beck, and Mr. Bear, and
I would love
Mr.
that.
B Bear.
I've been trying to get Mr. Bear. I wanted to get him on my my AITA, the reading of the almost Am I the Asshole Reddits, when I first did it. But I didn't know he actually talked, because I only saw him on Twitter.
Oh yeah, no,
he's got now I know he does.
Voice.
Yeah,
he's got an amazing voice. He really does.
Oh,
hey, just so you know, before we get into all this, Claire, if you ever need any voiceover work done, let me know. I do voiceovers and stuff.
Okay.
I do.
You want to come and be me for a while and freak them out? Like, you can do my next opening, and then they really talk about my voice. Yeah.
I did one for Atheist Edge a while back, and they were talking about Jonah versus What was it? Jonah and Jonas? Yes, Jonah and Jonas, I believe. Yeah, so I did a voiceover with him and Dragnaut on that one. It came out pretty good. So that was my first try.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We lost Randolph, but I'm sure he'll be
know. He'll be back.
I know. Yeah. Hopefully he comes back.
He'll be the lightning again.
So misquoting Jesus, is that kind of like, the guy on TikTok saying you have to let Jesus come inside you?
Yes.
Feel the warmth inside you.
Oh, this is like a mayhem moment. I knew I was going to love this show.
God, you don't even know his name. I have to go find his name for you guys. He's so funny. And he deadpans the whole thing. Like, he never cracks a smile. And he starts it like he's calm and gentle, and he's this Christian. And it's so important to let Jesus come inside you.
Well,
there's a lot of that in the Bible. It's
funny. There's a lot of that.
There is a lot of that.
People in the Bible.
Like,
Just, that's right, James. Just not on the sheets.
All I can think about for misquoting Jesus is those
Sorry,
atrocious
Granny.
people with the Westboro Baptist Church and their God hates F slur, and it's like, no, it was figs. It was cursed the fig tree. He didn't hate F slurs. He hated figs. So how dare that fig tree not bear fruit out of season? Like,
right?
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, what? Why?
Yeah.
Like, I am the Son of God, and you're not gonna have fruit out of season? Fuck you.
He was having a bad day that day. He threw a huge tantrum in the temple as well. Just things weren't going his way. Wanted some food. No food.
No food.
I didn't mean to make Granny choke.
Okay, now to explain Maundy Thursday. I'm sure you've all actually heard of it, even if you've never heard the term, because I actually, I didn't grow up in the church, but I was certainly aware of the Last Supper. But that's actually all that Maundy Thursday is it's the Passover that Jesus had with the disciples, where it was the Last Supper. And at that particular Passover, Jesus says, eat my body and drink my blood. And so, yeah, he did. He said, eat me.
Yeah, basically, I'm out, folks. Eat meat.
I think it's been medically proven that we're not supposed to ingest blood. So I think that's a bad idea. Yeah.
Where is student Dr. Ben when we need him?
Yeah, he could.
He's fighting the medical school world. That's what he's doing. Dealing with transphobes who are his attending was standing there going on a transphobe rant about about pediatric like puberty blockers and stuff for kids.
Oh.
Like, he was having a fit about it and said it's bad health care and should be a medical malpractice and blah 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 blah. And
I followed that whole I followed that whole legal case last year over there in the UK about that. It was quite interesting.
Well, there's one here in Alabama now.
Yeah.
because Alabama just made it a felony for doctors to prescribe any kind of gender affirming medication for minors.
Mm.
Right.
And they said minors, right? Because that was the
Yes.
problem in the UK. It was all about, most of the case balanced around the age and whether or not they could give an actual consent or not. Because of their ages, because they wanted to start them much younger. So they were going between 15 and 16, but they wanted to start them before puberty to make it easier, so the age would be younger. And it was really just a whole legal case about what was actual consent going to be, and whether they could, whether the parents could, whether the doctor could, or the child could actually give consent to such a thing.
One thing that is unique here in Alabama is the age of majority is 19, not 18. So it's a felony to give anyone either hormone treatment or puberty blockers, but even hormone treatment to anyone who is 19. That's still a felony because 19-year-olds are still minors here.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Where's there a cat? Who's got a cat? I'm messing with Randolph. He does it every time he sees my cat. One of them.
I do that with any cat I see, actually.
I know. You do.
Some people have told me that they find my cat alerts reliable. I better not mess it up.
Yeah, I know, right, Maya? But that's not why we're here. We keep getting distracted, Granny. Get us on course.
Yeah, I want to bring up one more thing about this lawsuit because it's important, and then we'll get on course. And that is that, what happened was there is a doctor and a trans parent who brought a joint lawsuit against the government to enjoin them from enforcing this law, because the doctor has a really good point, is that, I've been giving these kids these medications for years. It is not right to suddenly cut them off. That's going to have a severe effect on them. The only things that they can do is they can move out of state, or I've got to, if I cut them off, I am going to be causing harm and I am going to violate my medical oath. So I have been put in the place of having to either violate my medical oath or commit a felony.
Right.
What a horrible place to be. I mean, it's like,
Can you highlight Drew Harrison's comment there? Consent for what? Because I want to comment on that.
Okay.
Actually, Drew, not all effects of HRT are reversible. Once you're on testosterone for so long and certain things happen, like your voice drops and your facial hair starts coming in, you can't stop that. Once it's there, it's there. And especially if you've been on them for quite a while. There's also, for a lot of people, there is on testosterone, there's bottom growth, we'll call it that. So your clitoral area will get larger and that will not go back either. So, so no, it's not reversible.
But puberty blockers are completely reversible. And they're absolutely
puberty blockers they
are reversible.
They don't keep kids on puberty blockers like you do testosterone. It doesn't go on for 6 years. No. They do it for, I think Ben said it was like 2 years, and they'll reevaluate. They possibly might do it for 2 more years, but the average amount of time that a kid's on puberty blockers is around 2 years before they cut them off. So they're not on them that long. It does not hurt anything. There's some children who go through puberty too soon, and you have girls on periods at like 9-10 years old, and that's not supposed to be like that. Right. So it's not just a matter of going into HRT and hormone replacement therapy and transitioning. It's also about a lot of kids just need it. So they're screwing over all those kids that need it medically as well.
Actually, it's called precocious puberty.
Yeah. The ban is only if it's being used for gender affirming purposes. So, and that's the answer to AA's question as well, that birth control, even though it's hormone therapy, will still be allowed because that is not for gender affirming purposes.
Right.
Wow.
And Jenny Morgan says boobs never
That's
go
right.
away.
Boobs never go away. Exactly.
Honestly,
I can't speak about the estrogen side. I just know my side.
We need an equal rights amendment that, needs to be passed so that it covers all of the different groups. I mean, there's still not an equal rights amendment in the United States. And while they have added civil rights for different, minority groups over the years, there's still not an all-encompassing one that creates a more egalitarian system. And until we have that, you're going to see these states putting forth these atrocious things targeting minorities because it's an easy layup for them against, they don't want to do anything of substance for the voters. But if you have a culture war thing of targeting a minority, punching down, it allows them to continue winning elections with fear tactics.
So you can take a look, if you need a model, there's section 15 of the Canadian Charter, which is in our of Rights and Freedoms, which is in our Constitution. It prohibits discrimination. It cites a few examples, but it's a general statement. You can't discriminate on people based on arbitrary things like their sex or other stuff or their race or things like that. So it's that might be a helpful model for putting something forward. Say, hey, look at this. It works in Canada. We should do this in the U.S. Maybe that'll help convince the lawmakers to move it along.
Aunt Jer says, I seem to remember something about on the basis of sex. Aunt Jer, please check your Twitter DMs. I sent you a DM this morning that I need you to answer.
Just real quick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to get us back on track. So
okay, then I'll do mine real quick. John Oliver actually did a whole episode of his Last Week Tonight. You can find it on YouTube on the Equal Rights Amendment, and that it's been pushed. And I think only 1 or 2 more states need to ratify it where it would actually go into law. But definitely check that out. Like I said, it's Last Week Tonight, John Oliver on YouTube, Equal Rights Amendment.
Okay. Very good. Okay, now getting back to our topic for the day, which it's totally my fault that we got derailed because I derailed us. But misquoting the Bible, particularly with things with regards to Holy Week. So, what does anyone have?
JR's got plenty.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is Matthew's version of the triumphal entry, where he decides to take, there's a prophecy from Zechariah, and he decides to read it as he's going to be riding a colt and a donkey. And so he's got Jesus riding 2 animals at once, have him like performing like a rodeo clown or something. The other ones, it's a single animal, but Matthew's version, he's straddling 2 donkeys at once. So that's just, I always found that really quite funny. That he, so eager to fulfill the prophecy.
Yeah.
I had a
how do you
picture
beat
that I
that?
posted on that recently, just a few days ago. I'll see if I can find it while you guys talk.
What did you say, Claire? I didn't hear you.
I didn't say. I said I can't beat that. Like I'm just
Oh,
like I'm
yeah,
stunned
right.
now. Like how do you beat 2 donkeys and like, you just? I got nothing.
You know,
I got
all
nothing.
all things about the Bible just kill me. You know,
They
like
do.
you know, they put him behind the big rock, which was not normally made to roll, but that one was, or something. Dude, he could have just got out of there himself. He's fucking Jesus.
He's the first escape artist in the world.
Yeah, I mean, really, he can get out of there himself, and he didn't even have to freaking die. Like,
know.
so if he's if everybody's all powerful,
that's
like,
the big joke of the whole thing, really, because they say he died for your sins. It's like, yeah, for like,
Why'd
it's
you
not
kill
even
him?
3 whole days.
Yeah.
And then
Or
the
like-
rest of the time he's going to be up there with God. But yes, he suffered so much for a short period of time.
yeah, 3 days of
Yeah.
being dead and then eternity in blissfulness. Yeah. Oh, I feel so sorry for you, bro.
No, it is quite disheartening because there he is, the Son of God, and God's letting that happen. He's being tortured, he's being ridiculed, he's being blamed for everything, he's being killed, and for what? For what?
There you
I
go.
love this picture. This is great.
Byron just said something about that, Granny. Literally. That's hilarious.
You just can't beat 2 donkeys. I don't know. You just
Can't be too dumb.
There's some places
You
you could
just
probably
can't.
pay to.
Hey, JR, since you're into the Bible, I have an interesting thought from you projected to me by my brother, because I am not a theist, but he is. What do you think if you look at the entire Bible as being prophetic? None of it's happened yet.
I know that some people do read it that way. And by the time they were actually doing the New Testament, they were actually anything in the Old Testament, which obviously they didn't call the Old Testament at the time. They basically read it as though it was like had extra meanings and extra layers and things like that. So there's a lot of like stuff in the Talmud and things like that where they're reinterpreting old things which were written as history and saying, actually, this is a prophecy. So
yeah, and that's what my brother says, which after discussing a lot of things with him makes more sense to me, because of the fact that we have no evidence for anything happening, like a huge flood. Like, where's that evidence? But yeah, so according to him, he said it hasn't, the way he reads it in his reading frame, it hasn't happened yet. Jesus doesn't even know he's Jesus yet. And the entire Bible is about the last 2 years of end times from when the earth starts fucking trying to kill us.
That's
basically
kind of a radical interpretation. I haven't seen many people who say that none of it is historical, but there definitely are people who reinterpret like the past.
Oh, my brother's
in the future.
my brother says the whole thing is prophetic. He's really interesting to talk to about it. You should talk to him sometime. You probably enjoy it.
You might have misheard him. He might have said pathetic.
Yeah, you might.
I'll say
My
that's
brother's
okay.
a really good dude. Now, he's a good dude and he loves talking to people and discussing it. And, you know, picking on different, because he'll tell people, like, I'm going to say something. If you think it's bullshit and you're going to dispute, tell me. I want you to dispute me. And he's like, I want someone to prove to me that I'm wrong. It's literally what he wants.
We could do with more people like that in general, really.
Well, you know, it's just like anything else. If you research to the point of finding where you're right and stop, then you didn't research it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You should exhaust it. Past where it shows you you're right, into the point where, oh, I might not be, or damn, I think I'm wrong, or no, hell yeah, I'm right anyways, you know. But there's gonna be one of those three at the end of it. And, you know, that's how I feel about most Christians. Oh, I'm sorry, what?
I was saying, if science operated that way, we wouldn't have science anymore. It's always about, let's try to refine things. Let's find out what's wrong in the system, what's wrong in this theory, what can we chuck out. And I think that's a good attitude to have for beliefs in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Still makes more sense. I don't believe it, but it makes more sense to me. Yeah.
At least it's easier, makes them easier to talk with.
Yeah, I mean, it makes for an interesting conversation because it's not the same old Christian rhetoric over and over and over again. Like, I won't even go and just talk about like atheism versus religion because I'm just so sick of.
It's not really
you're not going to get through to any. The bottom line is neither side's going to get through to the other side unless the person experiences on their own. That's it. We have to self-experience whether we're going to end up here or we're going to end up here.
Exactly.
So you're not going to change anybody's minds.
Right.
I think you can influence people and cause them to go start looking. Because, you know, it did for me. If there's anyone that was really kind of responsible for me being an atheist, it's Aaron Ra. Because when I heard him saying some of the things that he did about the flood never happening, I didn't believe him, but I went and checked it out, and everything he said checked out to be true.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the end of my faith.
Right.
Wow.
Because they hold so much on that story. There's so much held on that story.
You washed your faith clean.
The fiction, the art, you know, the big winner stories, you know.
One thing that's funny is Ken Ham used to have a sign in the Creation Museum that said, if I can prove to you that one thing in the Bible is wrong, then you can prove that the entire Bible is wrong. And Aaron Ra did a short clip in front of that sign and says, well, I wouldn't put the bar that low. And I said, but I did. And that's where the bar is for inerrancy. If you can show just one point to be wrong, the whole thing falls.
Yeah. Well, you know, according to my brother, the floods, because it says waters, and if you go back to like ancient Hebrew or Greek or whatever it is, because he's he's rewriting the whole Bible, and he's translating it back. He's taking it back to the original meaning and then putting that in there in English, and it changes the entire thing. But anyways, so the flood of waters is people. It's people. So he said the flood of waters, the flood is people going in one
changes
direction.
everything. It kind of changes.
People are.
Oh no, it gets better.
The amount of water.
And the ark is just symbolic of heaven itself, because heaven is, well, this is where everybody thinks my brother's crazy, and I don't know what to think of it. I mean, he seems so sane to me. I spend lots of time with him. But but he said that that God is essentially an alien, like but look like us. We look like them. We come from them, but they have a spacecraft they live in, and that is heaven.
Yeah, that's
so he said the ark is just representing heaven. So the flood of waters is people trying to get the fuck off of Earth because shit's falling apart.
That's so long with something I just learned about the Raelians. Like we were doing occults and conspiracy about the Raelians, and it kind of helped me. I always had a problem with the ark story, like 2 of everything in the ark, and I'm like, yeah,
I know.
like,
how big was that fucking ark?
Like, but the Raelians believe it was like 2 cells of everything, and they put it all together. And so then I'm like, oh right, so these crazy people that believe that God would like was an alien that came down, and like these alien people are the godly people, and they're all here on Earth with us, that they actually were closer to it. Like I could get behind the 2-cell thing, like at least that's all going to fit in the ark, if there's an ark, at least it's going to be all together, not like these 2x2 by animals that never made any sense to me at all.
The
Raelians.
That religion is interesting. It's a polytheistic religion that started in 1974. It was started by a former race car driver named Claude Boreilham.
A Frenchman, right?
I think so. And one of their things that they're into is cloning humans and animals. And
they have the sheep Eve. Yep. Yeah, they have the sheep.
And they
Go ahead.
And they believe their deities are basically all extraterrestrials from different solar systems.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But they will deny them as gods and goddesses or deities because they're aliens. They're a different species, but they're deities.
And no, they are, and actually they're very happy people. They like this group together. I was trying to find something like really damaging or some kind of legal thing or some kind, because usually with a cult, something like that, there's like always some kind of legal messy stuff going on, or there's some damage to the people. Whatever. They are just happy people. They have like they're running around naked, having free love, doing whatever they want. They're very happy. Nobody wants to leave the cult. They're just enjoying themselves. They talk a little crazy. Their interpretations that we were reading of the Bible, Jay and I were reading them. It made my brain hurt, but damn, it was a good time because the things that they were saying, their interpretations of what the Bible actually said, had me spinning. But it was closer to reality than reality, kind of. You know what I mean? Like it was that funny, but it just made more sense than what a theist might tell me.
Yeah, I didn't know about their birthday suit traditions. That's hilarious. And Tom Cruise is with Scientology, by the way. Someone commented there.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not like that like everybody's there of their own free will, and they don't have to give all their money up and all of that, and
Purple said everyone is happy, very sus.
Yeah, I know. No, really, I couldn't find a thing. I couldn't find
because they're all on MDMA every day. They all microdose.
Except they'll be drinking Interstellar Kool-Aid.
Well, it did start in the 70s, and the first conversation he had, right, Randolph, was like he was on some type of a trip when he had this conversation with this deity or whatever, this alien who is God, and converted everything and told him how things really were, and yeah.
No, I wondered if the people who originally wrote the Bible the Holy Bible were high on mushrooms, and the tone of their writing changed as they moved on to different kinds of mushrooms.
Wouldn't you love to see like that conversation of them all sitting around, like how they're going to write this thing? Like they're going Like,
I
I
believe
want to
he's
be,
just
I
a
wanna be
badass
in-
trip.
I want to be in the writer's hall because I always think of it as one of the greatest stories ever told. Like, it's a novel, people. Like, just a bunch of people got up and made it up and just put it all together. Like, it's
Yeah.
like,
That's
instead of a
why
true
it's so
story,
poorly written.
it's a novel. Like, it's fiction, okay? And so I always think of it like a big writers group, like, and they're all sitting around
Yes,
together
yeah.
and they decide, like, you do this part, like, and you do this part. Like, it's like,
Jenny.
And he's calling it. That was great.
mm, mhm,
Byron. Yeah. On a copious amount of shrooms.
yes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, of course, it grows naturally on Earth. Why wouldn't you find
is.
it?
It's organic. Yeah.
I mean, really, people are acting like it's something horrible. If it wasn't for without that, I don't even want to talk about it.
Mhm.
Never mind. I use that for my PTSD. I can imagine I haven't pot.
Mm.
One of the weirdest things I heard as a believer, and it was very early in my Christian journey, so I didn't even know enough to correct the person, was that after Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel, when Cain killed Abel, there weren't any other girls around, so Cain had to have sex with Eve, and that's where Seth came from.
Oh,
Wow.
so then it's okay. Then it's just not okay, but it's okay. Mm.
I mean,
Wait a
there
minute.
Well,
was
it
literally,
worked. She was the only one there.
honestly,
So,
So
so
it's
like,
okay because a guy needed to get his nuts off. It's okay. As
yeah,
long
like
as,
it's okay.
As long as it's
Like,
us guys doing it. As long
that's
as you
right.
women
That's
don't
how.
want to do that
See that,
stuff.
Kitty? It started then. That's how we got here.
Well, no,
that's
like,
how
honestly,
we got here.
like, think about it. Like, you have, and I'll even throw in that there was a second woman.
Lilith?
Lilith. That would be Lilith.
That would
Yes,
be a
Lilith,
second woman.
Adam's
Yeah.
first wife, who was cast
Mhm.
out of the garden for being a badass bitch and not wanting to submit to Adam. So technically,
Good for
Cain
her.
could have had sex
Right.
and populated the earth with Lilith if you want to not have the incest thing. But if you take Lilith out of it, she became the mother of monsters, and lullabies were meant to keep Lilith away because she was said to steal babies from cribs. But regardless, like, the Christian origin story is full of incest. And it happens over and over again. You have it in Genesis with the Garden of Eden and, Adam and Eve. And then the only way to get more people.
She's like, I'm trying to talk over here.
Yeah.
But when he
Gosh,
has something to
listen to what I'm
say,
saying.
he's got to say it. Yeah, he's got to
No,
say it.
so where was I? Yeah, so Eve, like, there's incest there. Then
Mhm.
in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot
Lot.
and his daughters are the only ones who escape, and they get him drunk and try to seduce him to repopulate the
Mhm.
earth.
Right.
Noah and his family, if the entire world
Wow.
was wiped out in the flood, Noah and his family, all the incest. Like, there's so much
That's it.
incest in the Bible. It
Exactly.
might not be written out like it is with Lot and his daughters, but it is heavily implied if everybody's wiped out except for this small group of people that are related, that there's incest happening.
You even have the
Well,
patriarch.
we all had to
saying
start out
also-
We should be
somewhere.
backwoods of West Virginia, Alabama deliverance by now, with how long has gone on from then
Yeah.
to now. Like,
Mhm.
if it were true, so much
But you-
incest. Like, we'd be infertile and done.
But they
Dude, this-
even have the patriarchs actually saying to their sons, I want you to
Mhm.
marry a relative. I don't want you marrying any of those stinking foreigners. You've got to marry in the family. Keep the tradition going.
No.
Yep.
No. This story of Lilith always fascinated with me. It goes
Yeah,
all the
so
way
whatever
back
happened
then.
to Lilith?
Well, of course, she said no, so she was vilified, turned into
Right, but
a
where did she
monster-hating.
go?
Yeah.
If they kicked her out of Eve or Eden, Eden, according to my brother, is the earth itself.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So where the fuck did she go?
The land of Nod. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe Eve is the one that,
Mhm.
that founded the land
She went
of
to hang
Nod.
out with the lion and the witch inside the wardrobe.
Maybe
Yeah.
she
I
just
guess so.
Maybe she's
Where
where people were literate already.
where they
You
always
guys haven't
put
heard
Pick
of
the
Lilith
one.
in
I'd be
Wonderland?
hanging with Lilith all day long.
right,
Like,
Kitty, right? She said
Fuck yeah,
she
she
was
stood up for herself.
independent. She
She's the
stood up
bitch
for
right there.
herself. She said no.
number-
So what do? Kick her aside, vilify her, and now she doesn't even exist because they couldn't
number
handle
one-
it. Yeah.
Hey, number one, Rosie the Riveter, right there, man. She's
Yeah, right. She was the first one. She was the first one. And what did they do? But that's it started. Yeah.
And for the start of a potential movie plot, you could make up a story about how Lilith took all the unicorns with her.
Wait, I think they did something like that on this show, Supernatural.
And the
They brought
Sasquatch.
Lilith back, and she was bad. She was bad. She was really bad on that show.
That's
interesting. There were no unicorns though, but yeah.
I actually read a fantasy series. It was a reverse harem, which is one girl with multiple guys. Like, that's kind of my jam. But so it was a reverse harem romance.
That sounds like my VR fantasy right there. Okay, cool.
Anyways, yeah. So and it was dealing with like biblical stuff in so far as Eve basically was essentially eventually cast out as well, because they kind of combined Lilith and Eve in the story into one person. And she was kind of adopted by Lucifer, like as a daughter type figure, and she ended up falling in love with a few of his the princes of hell. And she was cursed essentially to die, to be mortal, basically, where her partners are immortal. So like every generation, she would live and birth the next generation of witches, because there's witchcraft in this book, and then die tragically before getting her happily ever after. And like that's happened from Garden of Eden to now times. And it was a really interesting, fascinating story. And I don't know. Yeah. I love seeing different takes on, like, it's fiction, like you guys were saying. I mean, it's basically just a reinterpretation of already established fiction, and it fascinated me, and I really enjoyed those books.
Well, considering, Byron, that he was created as a man and never got to go through childhood and masturbation, he was probably a two-pump chump. So yeah, he was probably born in the sack.
Yeah.
It's not like Eve would have known any different, sadly.
Yeah, right.
True.
Just, oh God, there's something else mounting me.
Oh.
There is actually a religious belief that some people have, that the original sin, instead of actually being fruit, it's that she actually slept with Satan, and that was what the forbidden fruit was. So that's kind of an interesting take on that.
That is, yeah, no could be.
Oh my
God! Good for her if she did. Like, fuck Adam, man. Like,
yeah, that's right. It makes more sense than the apple. I mean, the apple. What's wrong with apples?
Like that,
if Lilith was the forbidden fruit, then that would mean they had a threesome.
That makes more sense, though, actually, because the way they keep interpreting everything over again, why would they just say the forbidden fruit is actually a fruit? It has to be something else, just like everything else in the Bible, right? So, I think
that's the thing that I never understood really about the Genesis tale, and the fact that God wanted Adam and Eve stupid. He wanted them mentally invalid, because the tree of knowledge of good and evil, like, you tell them not to eat from it, but they didn't know it was wrong before they ate the fruit. So how can you punish someone for doing something wrong if they don't know? And I actually got into an argument with a guy that he followed me out to my car because he saw me walking with a cane and asked, can I pray for you? I'm like, if you want, but I'm an atheist, and left it at that. And then he followed me to my car to have this conversation. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So, like, I'm sitting there talking to him, and he's like, no, Adam was smart. He could name the animals. And I said, so can an autistic 2-year-old. They can't enter a legally binding contract.
Right, exactly.
Mine did.
Honestly, like, and I don't understand how you can hold, like, the Adam and Eve to a standard of they did something wrong. Like, they didn't know it was wrong until they did the thing. And, like, God is culpable. It's literally putting a kid with a fucking hot burner, on the stove and just
then blaming
away.
And then put the judgment, right? Yeah. Like, you didn't know better. All that judgment because you didn't know better. Like, we didn't give you the tools. We didn't show you how to do it, but it's all your fault.
Yeah.
Richard said that there wasn't big punishment from that, and it was just a lesson. So
I heard one interpretation that I thought was interesting was that the choice wasn't between obedience and disobedience. It was that God put before Adam the choice of knowledge or immortality, and Adam chose knowledge.
Ah. Well.
Now, the knowledge thing is what Richard says, definitely. I can't remember what he says about the other part of it, but that's what he said it is. It was a test to see if they truly wanted that knowledge. And
it's amazing what people actually add to things, because it's like, if you actually read the story, it says explicitly that that God doesn't want them to have the knowledge. Oh no, he's going to be like one of us. Let's make sure they don't get the tree of life, so they live forever.
Yeah,
many of those the cults that are twisting it say the same thing. Like, only because I just read about it, the Aurelians, they said the same thing. They brought down all the science books, they put them there, gave you all the knowledge, and then said, "Don't you dare read it, because then you cannot be godlike. We will not be able to live in your body godlike, and you won't become the highest being that you can be if you go read the knowledge, if you go into the science." I was like, stay away from the science. I'm like, okay. And then they left in a spaceship, and then they left. Yeah, and they left in a spaceship, and they left the science books behind with the people that they told not to read them. And I'm like, that was dumb. Why didn't they take the books with them if they didn't want you to read them? But they left them.
Tempting.
But,
tempting.
It's for temptation.
You're not going to tempt me with a textbook.
Yeah,
like that
so
ain't
it's
gonna
actually
work. I'd be like, I have it and smoke some pot,
No, that would tempt me. Anyway. Just give me every book tempts me. Just give me a book. I'm tempted.
No, I just sleep. I start reading a book, I just go to sleep. Oh, I have to show you guys something before I leave.
My record right now is I think I read 42 books in 1 month. I was doing, several of them were short, like say 200-300 pages, so I was able to knock out 2 of those in a day. But
When will Jesus bring the pork? What a great title.
Yep, it's George Carlin. He wrote it. It's hilarious. And I actually got a eighth of the way through it before I stopped reading it. So that was good. That's a pretty interesting book. But it's really funny and it's great. But yeah, it's called When Will Jesus Bring the Pork Chops? And it's him in the middle of the first supper or last first
according
supper.
To the Bible, pork is forbidden. It's unclean.
Yes, like it's unclean, and I think George is going to be waiting a long time.
Why are you going to trust the Bible for your science when it couldn't even tell you, hey, you've got to fully cook pork before eating it so you don't get parasites that eat your brain? Honestly, it's pretty simple. You don't have to remove an entire animal from the human food chain. Just tell them to cook it properly. If it was really an all-knowing God.
Yeah, but now you're talking about back before the doctors even knew to wash their hands.
Well,
they didn't wash their hands. They would be doing an autopsy, and someone would come in to give birth. Yeah, keep commenting pork. That's right.
Actually,
and they would go with their nasty hands from the autopsy, from the dead body right over. Oh, why did the mother and the child die?
Actually, you're right. And that's how they first discovered, germ theory, because they noticed that women that gave birth to midwives had a much higher survival chance than those that were birthed by doctors. And that led to them realizing, oh, doctors are treating injured people. They're treating
How
sick
are we
people,
doing this? Right.
They're tending to the dead, and the midwives aren't. They're just tending to the women that are in good health and having babies. And so that was kind of a trigger to realize that, hey, there's something going on here. And that, inevitably led to wash your damn hands to keep, from spreading germs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway,
it's funny because actually, in the New Testament, you've got Jesus saying, "Oh, you don't need to wash your hands." He ends up actually calling out the Pharisees and saying, "Those bastards over there, they wash their hands like idiots. You don't have to wash your hands. All you have to do is wash your feet, and then the rest of your body will be clean magically."
Everything washed, all your sins
Jesus
washed away. Keep
COVID.
your feet clean.
Cool.
How many people do you think back in that day had pubic lice and stuff because they never cleaned themselves? Oh God, it's amazing we're all alive right now. Somebody had to have sex so we could be here. Bless those women, huh? Ugh.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic.
That is not something. I didn't need that in my head. No, I didn't need that.
Okay, so as far as like misquoted like Bible verses and stuff. I actually have one like that. I hear like to justify corporal punishment, like parents hitting their kids, and so you'll hear spare the rod, spoil the child, but that's not actually what the verse says. And I actually pulled up the verse. It says, "The one who withholds the rod is the one who hates his son." So it's not exactly saying that you should like beat your child, but that you should like you can discipline your child, but it's not saying you need to like use a rod to do it.
You can imagine the child saying, "If you loved me, you'd hit me."
Oh,
Sorry.
right,
Yeah.
Randolph. Hold on, she's gonna put you. Oh, where'd you
I'm
go?
trying to figure out how to make Randolph full screen.
Just
I'll
grab
leave-
him and
I'll leave
switch
it
him
on.
with you.
No hurry.
Just
No
grab
worry.
him and switch him with you.
Well, how do I
Take your time.
Go to the full screen.
go to the
I'll
full
show you how to do it.
screen? Okay.
Yeah, now grab him from where he is and just switch him with you. Like on the main, up on the screen where you hit.
drag and
There
drop.
you go.
Oh, okay. Thank
Drag and
you.
drop.
Thank
Yeah.
Wash your hands like you accidentally touched the Bible.
Ew. Ew. That's so
That's a good
weird and
one.
Gross.
I like
That
that
is a
one.
good one. Randolph is like the
I
king
didn't know
of
I
memes.
could do
He's
that.
got memes everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't
you
figure out how
could.
to do it one time. When I started doing root and branch, I was playing with it. I was like, how do I, what
Yeah.
the hell? And then I just grabbed somebody and moved them because I remembered you could do that here too.
Mhm.
Well,
Like, you
that's the
could
part I
pick-
didn't know. I knew the buttons down there to change the screen, but I didn't know how. I didn't know I could move.
Well, you
people
can do it
around.
with us
Yeah.
right now
You
too. Like
can,
let's
yeah.
say Kitty's your co-host. You can grab her and switch her with JR if you want.
See, just like that. Look, see, I learned how to do. Polymathic showed me how to do that, and also you could change everybody's screen names. Like we have fun with that. Like when
Yeah,
I'm not
you
looking,
can,
you can just
change
go
it,
around and you
You
just
can
swap
click
them
on
all
them down
around and
below
move them
and
all
change
around.
their name
It's
to anything
fun
you want.
times
I've
for
done it
Double
to
Thread
math
right
pick.
now. But I do
Yeah.
think that changing people's names is not a really good practice. I like to try to get everyone's names right. So
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Let's all screw with Randolph, and every time he comes on, we'll use some absurd name. He'll be like,
no, please don't do that. I wouldn't do
your
it to
name
you.
is not
No.
Margarita
Your name-
or Corona.
I just got my COVID booster, and not only does
No.
my arm feel like I got punched by John Cena, but it itches too. And then I go to scratch it, and it hurts. And
Ouch.
like
The solutions are
whenever, like
gotta
it also
take a
spreads
hot
to my
shower you
hair.
can take for as long as you can. Get that on your
Yeah,
arm.
no, I
You gotta
Mhm.
do it
did that.
before the pain comes in. Yeah.
I took a really hot shower last night to help because it happened the first vaccine that I got, it was only my arm that hurt. It felt like I got punched by John Cena and The Rock in tandem. It sucked. Then the
Oh,
next
come
one,
on
my
now.
arm didn't hurt as bad, but I had like it had shifted to the rest of my body. So like that the next morning I went to get out of bed, I went to sit up and I'm like, oh, it felt like I'd overworked every muscle in my body. Like I went to the gym for like 30 hours straight, and so I had to like roll out of bed. This booster, it's been kind of in the middle, where it's like my arm hurts a lot, and like I've got like the body aches, and
Mhm.
just the feeling. So
The booster didn't do that to me. The
feeling-
second COVID shot got me, and I woke up and I had like body aches everywhere. I had
Mhm.
chills. I was just like,
So
I mean, I
if
didn't have
you're-
any kind of
you're-
congestion or upper respiratory anything. It just felt like a body flu. But
So
the
if you're
booster didn't
feeling-
do anything to me. It just made me sleepy.
So if you're feeling under the weather after a vaccination or a booster, that's a good sign. It means your immune
Yes.
system's working.
no, I get
Yes.
it, and I'll take this over any complications, like because back in
Yeah.
2010 I got swine flu, and it
Oh.
caused such a bad breathing like I had asthma until I quit smoking, and I actually quit smoking not long after that incident. But I spent a week in the hospital on breathing treatments because I wasn't oxygenating properly from swine flu, and that didn't even target the lungs the same way that COVID does. So I've been terrified of getting COVID, and so far I've not actually caught it yet.
Mhm.
Because I am hyper neurotic about like avoiding people and hand sanitizer and just getting boost. Like this was only my first booster because I don't really go out much. And
Uh-huh.
I put it off a bit, and like, because I knew I was gonna feel like shit for a few days, and I wasn't looking forward to it. But it's better than the alternative.
I applaud
Get
the
back
church
to
that
Bible.
I applaud the church that is promoting social distancing and vaccinations. There are some that do.
Yep.
I like
JR,
this church sign because it says 6 feet apart today is better than 6 feet under tomorrow. It's very clever.
Very
Yep.
clever. And very true.
Hey, before you guys go any further, Granny, I have to go, so I'm going to go ahead and
Okay.
hop off. So
Yeah.
thank you so
Oh.
much for having me. I really appreciate
thank you
it.
for
And
coming.
I
It's
love
been
you
great having
guys, and
you.
it's nice
Yeah.
to meet you, JR.
out,
And
my dude.
Yeah.
I'll see you
It's
guys
fun,
all
Love
later.
you,
me.
big
See
bro.
you later, Beck.
It was,
Bye, Beck.
it was
Take care,
good to
everybody.
see you, Mr. B, and your cat. Good night.
Yeah.
So, JR, do you have any quotes from what Jesus said or what either of the thieves said while they were on the cross?
Oh.
From the story,
Right.
or
Either from your book or whatever source you whichever source you like.
let's see.
Any sort. How about the life of Brian? Look at the bright side of life.
Yes.
I think yeah, they did a really good
I would
job of
qualify
that.
as this quote.
They did a wonderful song with it. Now it's in my head too. Thank you.
What song is that?
It's better than It's a Small
Always-
Thing, after all.
Yeah, it was that always look on the bright side of life. They were all on the cross and they were singing. You know,
Oh,
you
no,
on the life
I
of
didn't know
Brian.
that. I did.
It
I
was a
didn't-
Monty Python movie. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't. I was still a believer when that came out, and I probably didn't see it because I probably considered it too sacrilegious.
Well, you got
it
some.
really,
catch
it
up to do.
was. It was definitely was. It would have been
You've got
offensive
some
for
catching
you
up
at
to
the
do.
time. Yeah. But you watch it now, you're gonna really like it. I would watch it. Yeah. You like it.
Don't forget, I have not even gotten to my third year as an unbeliever yet.
Mm.
they actually had the Monty Python lot on TV, like
Mhm.
with Catholic priests who were all furious at the film. And the Monty Python lot was saying, well, he says in the film that he's not Jesus. He goes out of his way to say he's not Jesus. But yeah, there was a huge stink over it, where they didn't like
Right.
the way they portrayed it at all.
Right, because he had long hair and he wore the garb, and so they just assumed, you know. He said through the whole thing he wasn't, right? That was the whole thing. But yeah.
And Purple says, I don't know what the guys on the cross said, but the Roman soldiers really nailed it.
Thank you, Purple. Yeah.
But the only thing I can think of for my book, there's actually a part where he's being goaded by somebody in the crowd, saying, "Oh yeah, if you're really the Son of God, get down off the cross and, you know, do something about it." And in my version, he actually does get down off the cross, slaps him across the face, and then climbs back up.
He does. That's classic. That's good. Oh, that is good.
JR, I have a link to your, I think it's a website on the show, so that if anyone wants to get a copy of your book, I believe they can order it from there, correct?
It's got links to various places you can order it. Amazon's the main one. Most people have access to that, but I've got like in some countries where they don't have like an Amazon version of the site for that country. I've got like some alternate links for certain countries as well.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So if you would like a copy of JR's book, either Misquoting Jesus or I'm sorry, not Misquoting Jesus, but the Christmas Story, Genesis, any of those. I'm trying to do two things at once, so I'm having a little trouble talking here. But anyway, there is a link in the description. What I'm actually doing is trying to make sure that the link works correctly. There we go. I've got it. Yeah. The link takes you to Misread Bible, and you can get a copy of the books there.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so what else do we have? We've
covered a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Like we've gone all over the place.
Yeah, we have. Oh, here's one thing I'm curious about. Since you said you tried to put the different gospel stories together, How did you handle that in Matthew and John, Jesus appears to the disciples in Galilee, but in Luke, Jesus tells the disciples to stay in Jerusalem and wait for him until Pentecost?
Yeah, that was a tough one because, yeah. So basically, I've got it where at first Jesus comes back as a zombie, and he goes on a ravenous killing spree.
To just describe, there's a picture of Jesus with one of his hands down, looks like he's reaching forward. It says, "Can you pass me that nail? It keeps falling off."
So it ends up where he finally gets killed. I think it's Peter beats him to death with a frying pan.
Oh.
And yeah, so once he's actually died for a second time, he then ends up resurrecting as a spirit. And that's when he does like the other appearances up in Galilee. So I had to come, there's quite a few times when I've had to try to find some way to reconcile plot holes and contradictions that shouldn't have been there in the first place. But
I'm fascinated you fixed that one with a zombie. I mean, that's good. That's good.
We also have zombie Lazarus as well.
Oh, cool.
You just showcased Krabby's comment. I've heard that many times. People say it just like that. So that's do unto others before they do unto you. I've heard people say that, and they think what it really is supposed to be. Well, they're saying it that way. It's I've encountered that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So let's see. Do you have anything else on the Last Supper that's of interest? Maybe do you have anything on when Jesus washes the disciples' feet?
Oh, there's a story that I did on that, which is actually called Tootsie's. And basically it says that if Jesus was going to die, he wanted to go out doing what he loved, which was washing people's feet. So you end up having this, in the original version, you've got Peter ends up saying, like, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And I basically played on that, and I've got it where he's completely creeped out by it, and he has it where by the end of it, the men are all like sobbing, and he's had them stripped down, take off their socks, he's washed their feet, and then he ends up sitting back looking smug, and he says, "And now I want you to wash each other's feet." And they all burst out crying.
Sounds like you got a fetish.
Same Jesus's foot fetish. Like,
A foot fetish.
Yeah, that was a real passion for Christ.
Oh, I like Jenny's comment too. Me too.
Wasn't there something about the dead were raised? Like I vaguely remember reading something about zombies. Like
that was in Matthew, only Matthew's version. You have it where some of the saints end up getting up out of the graves and go wandering into Jerusalem, and nobody apparently notices.
Although what's funny is that the Matthew account actually claims that many saw it.
Yeah, but nobody else wrote it down except for whoever wrote Matthew.
One thing that was really interesting this past weekend, Mike Lacona and Bart Ehrman did a 7-hour debate. It was rather interesting. One of the things that Mike Lacona admitted in the debate was that probably didn't happen. And Bart Ehrman was all over that. Well, if that didn't happen, did the other things in Matthew's gospel happen? And they, and Lacona said, well, the tearing of the temple veil, that probably didn't happen either. And that one was a shocker for me because I've heard sermon after sermon about how the tearing of the temple veil was God coming down and showing man that the way to him was now open, that there's no veil between us. But when I started reflecting on what Lacona said, if that had really happened, Josephus should have said something about that. I mean, I can't imagine that the greatest historian of that era wouldn't write about an event that would have been mind-blowing for the Jewish people.
Yeah. And it's like the whole point of it is it's supposed to be this big symbolic thing, and it ends up feeding into this idea that a lot of modern Christians have about the new covenant and everything. We're getting rid of the old, we're establishing the new. But yeah, it would have been a really major thing, and people would have taken notice to it in much the same way they would have noticed zombies wandering around.
The chat is a hoot.
But we were talking beforehand about the Last Supper, and it's something where in the three synoptic gospels, that's Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they actually have the Eucharist tradition is established, where he actually does say, like, eat my body, drink my blood. In John, however, that part's actually absent. Instead, there's actually a part earlier where it's after the loaves and fishes thing, where he like feeds everybody. It ends up where everybody starts following him because he's fed them, basically. And then he ends up giving this speech saying, I am the living bread that came from heaven. And it's essentially the same sort of idea as the Eucharist, only he disconnects it from the Last Supper. But I thought it was quite funny with that account. You've even got people in the audience, like people standing watching, saying, what, this guy's telling us to eat him? He's telling us to drink his blood? And yet Jesus doesn't at any point say, oh, by the way, this is a metaphor. He just keeps on saying it while they think he's crazy.
Sounds like blood magic or vampirism to me.
Yes, it's like little cannibalism, little sick. No.
And Brian Stevens says, lack of external verification is what the Bible shares with the Book of Mormon. Go figure.
A lot of religions share that.
Yeah. But what I thought was interesting was, Bart finally asks, asks Lycona, well, how do you know the resurrection happened?
Special pleading, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
He had some reasons, and that was the basis of the entire debate, which I'm sure the people who watched the debate who were believers felt that Mike Lycona put out a good basis for believing it. I'm sure none of the skeptics did, and that's usually the way those things go.
T-Jump just the other day was asking a Christian about, in a conversation about why the Romans would have made such an elaborate tomb for Jesus. That wouldn't they have just treated him like any other Jewish person at the time who wasn't believing in their deities? I thought, yeah, that's interesting.
And that's a very good point as well. It's why the Bible stories actually got out of their way to give an excuse for that. So, there was this rich guy said he can use my tomb, but it doesn't explain why they made an exception, because they probably would have just tossed him in a pit or a mass grave or burnt him.
Forgot him like the others.
One thing that I found when I was working on a video recently was some claimed archaeological evidence in support of the Bible. And one of the things that was claimed as support was that they found a tomb that dated to the 1st century and had a cross on the inside of it. And I said, wait a minute. Why would Jesus' tomb have a cross on it? They didn't know until hours before he died how he was going to die. Why would somebody... And if they came and put the cross on it later, if Jesus allegedly rose from the dead, why would you then go and put a cross on an empty tomb? That doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, well, that's like if, fucking JFK came back from the dead and there were like sniper rifles, like, everywhere. It's like, dude, this is not how I want to be remembered.
It's just lucky that Jesus didn't die in an electric chair, because then we'd have to have like an electric chair hanging around our...
Yeah, right? Can you imagine?
It's really macabre. Like, it's morbid when you think about it. Like, this was an instrument of torture and murder. Like, and you treat it like a holy symbol. Like, when you actually, like, it's even worse with a crucifix, because that actually shows the brutal torture and murder of a person. The cross, just in general, I mean, whatever. It's still, like, symbolizing an ancient torture / murder device. And I never understood why it became so glorified,
Yeah.
like of all the things, like if Jesus came back, of all of the things he would want, to be used to remember him, I think that one would come in dead ass last.
Yeah.
Right.
I imagine he'd be like a vampire. He'd be recoiling from it. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, not another one.
Yeah.
Jesus is the first vampire, confirmed. Jesus
Right?
is the first vampire. He
Actually,
doesn't like
Just
seeing
like it.
crosses. He's very considerate of your personal boundaries because he tells you to let him inside, so vampires can't enter without
That's
permission.
right.
Jesus is the first vampire. That's my
So
new
Rever-
headcanon.
All right, that's
Resurrection.
unique. I like that theory.
So resurrection, another curious thing is with the resurrection, like people were kind of, the impression I get is people were treating Jesus' resurrection like a normal thing. Like nobody's asking him, what was it like to be dead or to come back from the dead? And I'm thinking perhaps in those times, people weren't as very effective at determining if somebody's really dead. So maybe they just buried them superficially at first, and a lot of them would come out if they woke up. But if they're there long enough, then they'd finally do a full burial. I don't know.
No, didn't
Maybe
that
it was
happen with a
people
lot
to
of the?
come back from the grave.
I think that did happen with a lot of the plagues and all that they were doing the mass graves and everything. People were coming back because they got so sick they thought they were dead and they weren't.
Yeah.
They were
That's
coming
actually
back
why
and walking around and yeah.
People are we're better at determining if somebody's really dead now, but
Yeah.
'cause
Mhm.
medical
Let's hope.
technology-
Well, it's like the
Let's hope.
graves that had the little bells, like when they would bury somebody,
Yeah.
and they'd have the little string with the bells, so that, granted, they wouldn't have much oxygen, so if they didn't wake up within a few hours of being put in the ground, you're kind of shit out of luck there. But
Yikes.
no, we did not have a good way of determining whether someone was
Yeah.
mostly dead or all dead. To
Yeah,
quote
'cause-
the Princess Bride.
Yeah, burying them
Very
with a bell is probably not the best way to figure out if they're dead or not. That's
Yeah, what if
just-
the spring breaks?
Yeah, it's not going to work. It's just they're going to
There's a
be
lot-
dead soon.
There's a lot of the vampire lore actually comes from the fact that people weren't very good at telling if people were dead. And I heard that the stake actually came from that they would stake the bodies to the ground. And they'd say, all right, that way this guy's not going to get up. The thing about the fingernails grown afterwards, because the classical vampires, they had really long fingernails, and they would use them to actually pierce the neck of their victims before they came up with the idea of them having fangs. And that's based on like the observation that when somebody dies, the cuticles actually start to recede, and so it looks like the nails have got longer. So it's kind of it's
Also, the gums
interesting.
can recede a bit as well
Yeah.
to make the teeth look longer.
Yeah,
Plus, there's bloating that happens, so they thought, oh, they're getting engorged with blood, when really it's just gases and bodily fluids doing what naturally happens in the decomposition process. But we didn't understand science.
I think atheists should do? Make it a thing to start wearing necklaces with Iron Maidens on them. And people ask, why would you wear something like that? Well, you wear a cross. What's the difference?
I will so do that. My little gothic heart pitter-patters in delight with that, and I'm on it. I'm on it.
Looking forward to see what you come up with, Kitty.
you could end up with different factions where people are like, all right, we're going to wear the Iron Maiden, we're going to have like stocks, we're going to have a noose, and like arguing over which one of them's a true
A
sign.
little guillotine, one that actually works.
It's too.
Scapegoat Iscariot says he wants an Iron Chariot charm.
That's actually a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a
Ward
good way
off
of
the
keeping God
Christians
off
with
you.
your Iron Chariot.
Yeah.
When they come and try to evangelize to you, just hold up your Iron Chariot.
That'd be
You
great.
can't touch me.
I wonder how many would get the reference, though.
Probably not very many.
Sounds like a research project.
It is really staggering how many Christians haven't read their own Bible, but there's stuff in there like the Iron Chariots thing. It's this all-powerful God who can't get rid of these things because they've got iron on their chariots.
Mhm.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's funny. Like, that leads some credence to the fact that God is not actually a god, but he's a fae. Because iron is poison to the fae. And he would
Mm.
definitely be from the Unseelie court because he's a psychopathic bastard. You know, I could see, Jesus being Sealy court, like can be a little temperamental, but overall not malicious. Whereas Yahweh's definitely top tier Unseelie. I'm gonna fuck you up and enjoy doing it.
Yeah, he's definitely psychopathic.
So yeah, no. If God has an iron allergy, it's entirely possible he's a fae.
Yeah.
Purple makes a really good point. If we want to be safe from the second coming, all we have to do is stay in our cars.
Wait, does that mean you won't be raptured if you're in your car
That's a really good question.
or a plane?
You know, when I was a believer, I used to fear that all the time. You know, if I walked into the house and the house was empty, I would go, "Oh my gosh, did the rapture come and I got missed?"
That has got to be a horrible way to live. Honestly, like that like constantly in fear of, because like there's that whole fear of missing out thing. But like amped up to 11, where it's like you fear that, oh, the house is empty. Everyone in my family got raptured because they were good enough.
Right.
They were devout. I was, not good enough, and I was left behind.
Yeah.
God, that is tragic.
For me, that's not
Tragic.
a religious thing because I still experience that. It's just that I wake up in the morning feeling like I missed something, I forgot something, and I can't remember what it is.
Oh.
So I go through that regardless. I just can't figure out what it is that's bugging me.
I've had that all my life.
I'll just read this out. So this is your Rapture Survivor card. Celebrate 2,000 years of any day now. Survive 9 end times prediction, and the 10th one is free.
It's true. That's true. I don't even want to know how you got the crosses on the hat. Would you survive?
Well, most of them have check marks. This person had crosses, so that's the one I chose to show. I thought it's a little more.
I always laugh when people actually make predictions. The Jehovah's Witnesses have actually made predictions multiple times and then just decided, oh wait, that other one we made, it didn't happen.
Right. And change the date. Sorry.
I can't remember the name of the guy who did it around 2000. He actually had a website up and he was saying, oh, the rapture's coming any day now. And then after it happened, it ended up where the website disappeared. I think the website was the only thing that was raptured.
The website was raptured. I'm trying to remember the name, but I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember his name.
But it's happened so many times that it could apply to a load of them. My fear when I was younger, I actually remember like going to sleep at night and like having kind of like, like how people get night terrors and stuff. I would have thoughts of like, oh shit, what's that? Go to hell. I thought if I think an impure thought, God's going to hear it. Am I going to end up going to hell for this? It's a very weird mindset to grow up with.
Night terrors and sleep paralysis are fucking horrifying. Like
they are.
I on more than one occasion, part of it is like from past trauma and a bit of PTSD, but like I will wake up like in a cold sweat, like completely like I can't move, like, and I've had like this horrible like nightmare, and it's basically like that the last 10 years of my life, which have been really good, were a dream, and I'm actually back in like where I was before, and like it fucks me up for days. It does.
That's gotta be the head fuck. Isn't it weird though that it's like people are talking about religious experiences, and then the only thing you can really compare it to is like stuff that's brought on by like mental illness and trauma. And things.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like Christianity, like especially, they want you in that trauma mindset.
Yes,
The
exactly.
perpetual victim, and also never good enough. I mean, God, the God of the Bible is very much an abusive father figure /
Yeah.
spouse,
Yep.
demanding
Judgmental.
love and respect through fear and intimidation.
Yeah.
And it's gross.
You just have to look at the 10 Commandments for that. It's like, he thinks, like, I'm going to write the 10 rules that people have to live by. I'm going to make the first few of them about worship me. That's the most important thing he has to get out there is, by the way, I'm God. I'm the most important. Worship me.
And put adultery on there, like more towards the bottom,
Yeah.
but only because you're disrespecting another man's property. Like, don't
Right.
actually put anything about not raping people on there.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
nobody cares about that. Like, that's just
treating people
property
decently and all
damage.
that. Yeah.
And all the laws around adultery and things like that, they always center on the woman. It's like a man can sleep with another woman if she's not engaged to another man. But it really is a case of like, yeah, if you sleep with another woman, you use another guy's property.
Well, we are drawing close to the end of our time, but it has been wonderful. I think it's been informative as well as entertaining. And I think we all kind of got a laugh and had a chance to share a few things about some of our own experiences. And the chat has been absolutely wonderful. It has been, it's been a pleasure to have hear so many of the additions from them as well.
I just thought of another one.
Okay, go ahead, Kitty.
Well, so like they say, like, oh, masturbation, is wrong because God punished the guy who spilled his seed on the ground. People are like, oh, because he masturbated. It's no, because he was, by the rules, supposed to impregnate his dead brother's wife.
Yeah.
And he refused to do that. So he shirked the responsibility of impregnating this woman.
Yeah.
It wasn't about him self-pleasuring. It was literally he was supposed to
exactly
do this.
Yeah.
Just like, Lot offering up, his daughters, like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's not about like the bad things they were doing. It was a morality tale in that, the hospitality, like the angels had broken bread in his house, so he was like duty bound to protect them, and like that's why he offered up his daughters to the horny mob. There's so much weird shit in the Bible.
Yeah. And that's why I end up writing so many books. There's a lot of material to work with. It's funny sorry.
No, go ahead.
I actually had a Christian woman came into my house recently, which was kind of unnerving because I've actually got a cross on the wall with a bungee jumping Jesus, which she noticed and commented on. But one of the things she brought up, she said, I'm doing a study of women in the Bible. And I had to bite my tongue because I thought, what I wanted to say was, oh, right, so not a very long study then. But she brought up
not much to work with.
she brought up the story of Judah and Tamar, supposed to be like a good exemplar of women in the Bible. And she was struggling to like get some of the details, and I think I ended up saying it more politely than this, but basically it's like, if you've got a guy pulling out and jizzing on the floor, it was basically a case of he had the duty to give his elder brother children, and the woman was basically property they'd bought, and they had to get use of her. It's like somebody has to use this woman for the only purpose that women have, which is baby ovens. But she pointed at it as being this lovely example of women's role in the Bible.
I never heard the one where Randolph's got another one for us. I need to get this.
I've seen
previous
that one.
The previous one was a really nice picture. Yeah, this one says you can't hold hands with God when you're masturbating. It's like the pressure that they put on people is just unreal and ridiculous. Like there was one I saw. It was an ad. I'll try to find it. I don't know if I have it, but it's it shows these young people that are promoting their church, and they're saying they're smiling and pointing at their shirts, and the caption says, "Masturbation is self-rape."
That's what the African humanist just said. That some
Oh.
people have got.
Don't even get me started on rape in the Bible and the fact that, if a woman is betrothed and is raped, then she could be put to death. But if she's not betrothed, then her rapist has to pay the father and then marry her and can't divorce her.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck.
What?
And it's if she doesn't cry out in a populated area, because there's no reason that, it's not like the rapist could say, if you cry out, I'm going to kill you. It has to be a case of that's what consent is, that they didn't cry out.
I think this is so funny. And I always think the reason they're smiling is because they're doing something secretly without telling anybody.
I remember having a purity ring in high school, wanting to fit in. I didn't stay very pure.
What they should have done for purity rings is made them like hand buzzers. So if you do go to do it, you're going to give yourself a shock.
Oh, that would work.
I don't know who designed the sign.
Mo says, I feel bad for the guy who had to make those T-shirts. I think
Exactly.
one thing that's funny, I sent Robin a basket for Easter, and I had a card with it that said, Happy Zombie Jesus Chocolate Day. Do you think you could find your Easter basket? Because it was right below the card. And they shipped Robin the gift, but the card wasn't there. And I have to wonder if whoever was supposed to make the card read that and said, I'm not writing that.
No. You were boycotted. Oh no.
They canceled you for going against
your
Christian
card.
norms.
Although it's possible that they just missed the card, because we've had that happen with very ordinary cards as well.
With Easter coming up, we should perhaps it's good to finish with a nice picture, some adult Easter eggs, a little later.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there you
on
go.
that topic, for my son's birthday party, it's basically just going to be family because, again, I'm terrified of catching COVID. But I made a promise to my brother-in-law that I would have a taco piñata for him, and I'm going to fill it with the little mini bottles of booze and like some candy too. And so we already have a piñata for my son, but I'm going to get a little taco piñata because he's of Mexican descent. So like he likes to lean into that of, being Mexican. So
be careful not to mix them up.
Yeah, no. Well, one's going to be a taco, the other's going to be it's a Mario cube, like the little question mark block for that. Plus, I mean, there's really only going to be the two kids there, so it's really not going to matter. They can crack open both piñatas. They just can't bring booze.
Okay, and with that, we'll get back to wrapping it up. I'm going to give everyone a chance to shill for themselves, or for, in JR's case, his book, or for whatever you want to shill for. And then we'll, and at the same time, if you have any closing thoughts, go ahead and give your closing thoughts. So Randolph, we'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. This was a lot of fun. We covered some of the things that you wanted to cover, and a lot more. It was a great conversation. I enjoy everybody here, and B as well, who's had to head off early. Thank you for hosting these. I'm going to be running a live stream most likely this weekend. There's a chance it might get delayed to weekend after, but it very probably will be this weekend. It'll be in the morning on Sunday. And we invite people to join us on Discord on a Discord stage to prove to any of us on the panel that a goddess or a god exists. And I live stream it on YouTube for people who aren't on Discord. So on my channel at www.youtube.com/Randolph Richardson, that's Randolf, you will find these. You'll see a picture of Kurt Russell in the middle and kind of purple banner across the top. Those are the streams that we're doing this on, and the streams also link to each other. So some of them have gone on more than 8 hours. We're trying to keep them down to 4 to 5 hours, but those have been a lot of fun. I'm the president of an organization called the Canadian Atheists. We advocate for atheism here in Canada and hope that it also can have some influence, at least, on the rest of the world. The website is www.canadianatheists.ca. Thank you very much. I look forward to being on your show again. God bless Granny.
Thank
And
you.
thank you to everybody in the audience for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Claire.
Well, thank you again, Granny, for having me back again. I always like paneling with you. We've done a few things together. It's always quite interesting. This was a lot of fun because it was like open and a little bit of humor, a little bit of learning something, which I always like, and just hearing everybody's different viewpoints on it, and with great humor. And as always, as it is over here, the complete lack of judgment for wherever we're coming from. So I greatly appreciate you having me here. For myself, I'm kind of busy every day, Monday through Thursday. I've been following the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case for a few years, and I got the opportunity to live stream the court trial with Auditing the Absurd. And I'm there every day. I'm still doing my stuff at night. So tomorrow night I have a weekly recap on Johnny Depp with my friend Maundy, and I also have a Am I the Asshole episode with Charlie Welsh, which should be pretty funny because we get to those kind of conversations are good because you get to make a little bit of fun, but you have to get a serious conversation about a serious relationship type thing, and I enjoy those too. So, that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll see you on Six Pack on Friday.
I will be, as I love it over there with the Hereticals. I'll be there every day that they have Six Pack. I'll be there since they started with me last summer. I love it there. But yeah, I do believe we'll be at 6 a.m. on Friday morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made something special for Atheist Pastor for that episode. So I asked him if I could
You're
be
going to
on
be
too.
joining us, aren't
Yes,
you?
I'm going to be
That's going to
joining
be so fun.
I've got a little video that I made just for him.
You made a video? I can't wait.
It's only 30 seconds long. It's just a little thing, but I'm sure he'll get a kick out of it. I'm sure you will too.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I can't wait to be with you there again. It's been a while since we've been together on there.
JR.
Well, I've enjoyed doing this. It's been nice to meet everybody, and I really appreciate the work that Randolph's doing. We need more of that, and I've seen Claire's
thank
stuff.
you. Everybody here.
I've seen Claire's stuff, the Am I the Arsehole stuff. That's really fun as well. Haven't seen Kitty before, but I'll definitely give her a watch. So if you want to buy my books, they're available in the link in the description. It's just basically me taking the Bible, reworking it a bit, putting some humor in, and try and guess which parts of the absurd stuff come from me and which parts actually come from the Bible itself. It can be difficult. I've had Christians who were clueless; they didn't know what I'd made up. So, but thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you for coming. And you if you don't have a copy of JR's book, it is hilarious. It really is hilarious. I love.
I can't wait. And JR, if you like Am I the Asshole, you're welcome to call me anytime. Keep me up in DMs. We'll do one together. You're pretty funny.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I've just remembered as well, I'm actually set to do the audio book for the third book.
Oh, nice.
Nice,
Joshua
really
Jackson,
good.
who did the first two books, has agreed to do the narration, and he's got a brilliant voice. He's born to do that kind of thing. So so that should be, we're aiming for September-ish, but we'll have to see how things go with him and his schedule.
Okay. Kitty.
Yeah, I don't really have much going on. I just haven't been doing well lately, but I do know that Diana's fundraiser is going to be coming up. It had to be postponed, so I do want to shout that out. Purple's Twitter is she's the one that has been great getting this stuff done behind the scenes. And there are some items that I've made that I donated to it, just waiting for it to happen. So definitely check Twitter for that. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I don't really have much going on.
Okay. Cosmic Goat says that he laughed and laughed reading JR's book and then he ate it.
Of course. As you should, like a good goat, right? There you go.
Right in character. Yeah.
Yes, right. I like it. Yeah.
Okay, I
I
have
guess
quite
he's going to have to buy another book then, isn't he?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
right. You
I-
know,
yep.
and just keep the cycle going. Yeah.
I really encourage it. Eat your books, buy another one. I don't mind.
That's it. Mhm. What do you
Okay,
have
what
going on?
I have quite a bit going on because first, Friday morning, I will be on Six Pack with Atheist Pastor at Hereticals. Then I have a special stream coming up Friday afternoon at 2:00 with David Worley. And I did that one at that time because David is in the UK and this is a terrible time for him. And we are going to be talking about zombies and fallacies.
Oh.
Since it is Good Friday, Zombie Day, the day that Matthew says that all the zombies got, well, we're going to do zombies and fallacies. And then I have a project going where I started a review of Lee Strobel's book, The Case for Heaven. And my plan was to release that on Saturday, and that I might do that. I shot the recording today. I put a lot into this. Most of my videos have about a 6 to 7 page script. This one has a 12-page script, and it took me just over an hour just to record it.
Wow.
So it might take me a little bit to edit it, and it might be Sunday before I get it out. And I hope I do get it out by Sunday, because I end up by saying Happy Easter, and be kind of silly if it's the day after Easter before I finally get it out. But
Yeah.
I will be getting that out as soon as I can.
That sounds like, well, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
That's great. Yeah.
And then we're still trying to get together the Jenny show, and it was supposed to be next week, but we had to postpone it. It's probably going to be the following week. I just waiting to hear from Aunt Jer, which is why at the beginning of the show I said, Aunt Jer, check your DMs. So that will be fun if we can get together the old Jenny show, and I think that's going to come up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's what I have coming up. And thank you to everyone. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, JR. Thank you, Kitty. Thank you to everyone in the chat. It has been absolutely lovely. It's been fun and it's been informative. And everyone, live your life.
Thank you. This is a lot of very enjoyable. Thank you.
It was great to meet you all.